Hi there, and welcome to Rob's Custom Wood Shop. My name is Rob, and today I'm going to be upgrading my dust collection system. Now this has been my dust collector for the last few years, and it's worked just fine, but recently I've been able to upgrade to this single stage 220 volt 1200 CFM dust collector. To fit my dust collection design, I have to modify how the motor and impeller housing sit, and that will take only a 12-inch longer piece of 5-inch discharge hose. Also, I'm going to be adding this remote turn on so I can activate the dust collector anywhere in my shop. This will not be my final upgrade to this dust collection system, so I'm keeping that in mind as I design my overhead piping. So I started off thinking I can make some sort of bracket out of plywood that would squeeze my pipe as well as hold it in position. So I traced out my pattern and decided to cut it out at the bandsaw. Then I realized that I'm very terrible at making circles on the bandsaw. So what I'm going to do is, since I have one big enough, I'm going to use a hole saw and use the drill press. So I'm going to make up this jig to hold this piece steady. Now when using the hole saw of this size, it is important to hold your workpiece as best as you can and just take your time and do not try to be super aggressive. If you're going to do this freehand with a drill, using the pilot bit will help steady the hole saw and keep your cut straight. Once all the holes are drilled, then I went to my table saw and I cut a couple small pieces and then plowed out using my dado stack a small groove and able to accept these brackets. To attach them, I'll just use some glue and some screws from the back side. And then just repeat. Now to cut this 4-inch PVC pipe, I found the best way to do it was to use my miter saw. Being that it was only a 10-inch miter saw though, it didn't cut all the way through and I had to give the pipe a little turn. So I have all my long stretches up and in place with some of my corners just dry fit and ready for installation. Some people like to just friction fit, but I'm going to silicone some joints, glue others, friction fit, and just screw other joints. Now what I found is the blast gates I ordered don't fit into the T's fittings, but if I took and cut off a small piece of pipe, I got a very nice friction fit. Now I did find out pretty fast that if you have a critical joint that you are gluing, you only really get one stab at it. So the stab you make it good. To secure all my blast gates, I put a little bit of silicone on the edges and I just used self-tapping screws to prevent having to drill pilot holes. Just a note on putting these up, under those 3/4 inch plywood brackets, I left another piece of 1/2 inch to account for the wall sheeting. Then I made a bracket for my remote turn on out of a 2x6. I simply beveled one end just so it sits on a little bit of an angle so I get a better view of the eye. Next, I attach the remote turn on to the wall, plug everything in, do a little cable management, and then give it a test run. Now my battery died last night before I could finish, but this is my finished product. The dust collector's bottom Y starts a run that goes along my outfeed table in behind my table saw. I get access to the blast gates through the extension wing on my table saw. The first blast gate comes out of the Y and goes over to the table saw. The second blast gate is just for future consideration. Now the second Y goes straight up to my ceiling and ends up at another Y. That Y branches off and goes over to my bandsaw, which I left a ton of hose in case I ever want to pull out the bandsaw to do resawing. You'll notice at every drop I have a Y with a second blast gate or a cap just for future consideration. The Y also goes along the ceiling diagonally across the shop to a main junction. This junction houses 3 different blast gates to shut my system off. The first Y is off and goes all the way over to my miter saw. Now the miter saw really has no dust collection, but I plan to upgrade the miter saw station and that will have a hood for the dust collector. The second goes down to my planer. Then the diagonal continues on and goes over to my jointer. And there's another port on the Y that will probably go over to my router table once I redo it. And that finishes off the upgrade to my dust collection system. If you enjoyed this video, hammer the thumbs up button. And if you want to see more videos of mine, please subscribe and ring that little notification bell so you never miss when I upload new content. Now, if there's anything you think I could have done better or made more efficient, please leave a comment below. Thanks for watching and hope to see you on the next project.